We're back here on the platform, and we're speaking with Pastor Ricardo Miller from Dallas, Texas. But you spent some time in Acklands, you say?
Yes.
And so you were around elderly people.
Yes.
And they instilled certain things in you, right?
Yes.
Inculcated some things in you. We were talking about the foundation.
Right.
They provided a solid foundation, didn't they?
I believe so.
And so I quoted you the line from the scriptures, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do?
Well, in this day and time, what is going to be required of the righteous is to rebuild the foundation. And that's hard work, because when the foundation stands for everything that was built. And so, but it's possible. In Dallas, Texas, we have foundation issues in our buildings a lot. And one of the first things when you're buying a home, one of the first things they tell you is check the foundation. Because, and most people will walk away from a house if the foundation is cracked or damaged. But what we found out lately is there are companies that are being built just to work on foundations that have been cracked. And so what we need is leaders, community leaders, we need teachers who understand that something went off. And what we're going to need to do is we got to work this back into being livable.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we're too young of a country to just keep letting it go the way it's going. Because before you know it, we won't own our country in the sense of it won't be ours anymore when it comes to the value. We'll just be here occupying that space.
So we have structural problems.
Yes, yes.
Structural problems. So let's move from the structural problems of a home or
Right.
building and talk about structural problems of a human being.
Yep, yep.
And so when you see the high incidence of crime,
Yep.
the high incidence of juvenile delinquency, the many dysfunctional homes that we have around our country, and the phenomenon of crime, we can talk to the structural problems of the family.
Right.
All right? Now, you have written a book, Parenting with Purpose.
Right.
What is that about?
My book, Parenting with a Purpose, is all about is helping parents to understand when raising a boy, a girl, or your children in general, that you have to capture the understanding that where this child doesn't get it is where their greatest attack will come in life. What you have to do is you have to be very intentional in your training of who he or she is. I tell a number of friends of mine that I'm not only concerned about my son being raised well because he's going to have to marry some young lady. I need to make sure the young ladies are being raised well as well. I need to make sure young people are being raised well, because unfortunately, if I do well with him, but he get connected to someone who weren't trained well, it's going to add frustration to him and throw him off his game. And so I don't only have a responsibility to train my child up right, I have a responsibility to help influence the next generation. And in our book, Parenting with a Purpose, it simply helps parents to answer some questions they maybe never thought about before, to start to help them to understand where a child may be in their home and have great potential. That potential doesn't automatically come to greatness because the child has potential. That potential has to be developed, and that has to be worked through discipline, through structure, through information, through helping that child to capture, listen, you're not going to be great just because you think you want to be great. There's a work ethic that matches that. And so the book helps parents to bring about the understanding of time, money, God, help children to understand the importance of relationship. You know the statement, birds of a feather flock together. Most kids believe my mama just trying to hold me back from my friends, but mother sees something that the child doesn't see. In relations to money, kids want to go to the store and just buy cup and buy something quick, when not understanding that saving and having a value, an understanding of the value of money can make that child something of significance in the future. It really works for something. Then understanding how to treat people. But you see, one of the challenges we are facing in our country today is the value for people has gone down. That's one of the reasons why the murder count is so high. Because, see, it's easier to chop a guy in the head. It's easier to shoot a person when you don't see value in them.
Well, it has to do with the sanctity of life.
Right, yes.
And that each life is sacred. And we have not been taught about the sanctity of life. And that is why KB on a radio program the other day told me that when he was a boy, he would throw stones at dogs.
Right.
As they say, pult the dog.
Right.
And you probably did the same yourself.
Yes.
Down in Washington Street.
Right. Yeah.
Because you didn't have any respect
Right.
for that, the life of the dog.
Right.
And so we're talking about getting people to understand that life itself is sacred.
Yes. Yes.
And there are our young people who do not understand about the sanctity or the sacredness of life.
Yes. But see, and that's not going to change because it needs to change. It's going to change because a collective group of individuals are all going to take their rightful place in trying to make sure that that understanding kicks in. Now, what we're having, once again, is a lot of people saying it, but they're not getting it. These guys are not getting it. I was on the street. You know how many people sat me down and talked to me? I was dropped off at the East Street Police Station when I was 12, and the police officer took me in the back of the cell and had a Rasta talk to me through the cell saying, "Little man, take your little big head home and go listen to your mother." He thought he was going to get me. He thought he was going to get me. I just turned out worse. I had every cousin, every uncle, anybody who had some decent sense of structured mind tried to sit me down and say, "Little man, listen, you need to do this, you need to do that." And it went into one ears and it went out through the other. Because it's not just a matter of saying the truth. We know the truth. The library is full with the truth. The school is educated with the truth. I mean, we're hearing the truth a lot. Unfortunately, there's a missing element when it comes to hearing and doing.
And so why don't we? Why aren't we doing what we are supposed to do? And it goes back to certain things that are foundational.
Yes.
And it has to do, too, with education.
Yes.
The extent to which you weren't properly educated at the time.
Yeah.
The miseducation of Ricardo Miller.
Yes.
He was miseducated.
Right, yes.
And you only caught yourself when you were 18, 19 to get an education.
Yes.
And so you were poorly educated back then, didn't know how to decipher between right and wrong.
Yes.
And so you ended up in the police station.
Yep.
And you ended up doing all sorts of nefarious deeds because of the lack of education.
A lot of people fail to understand that the ability to get A's and B's doesn't mean you comprehend the content to which you receive to get the A and B.
Yes.
A child can get A's and B's through the ability to be able to remember well and visualize, capture.
To regurgitate information.
Easily. But never got it. Never got it. And so comprehension's off. So in other words, the child is good in math, but still not good with money. The child can read, write, and spell, but still cannot grasp. How do I bring this to life? And so we got to ask the question from a school standpoint, are we teaching these kids for life, or are we teaching them just to pass a test?
Ricardo Miller, one of the problems that we have in the society has to do with the inability of young people to settle scores, to deal with conflicts, conflict resolution. And I am putting it to you, sir, that we have a high incidence of crime, indeed homicides, because people do not know how to talk things through. They do not know how to express themselves. And here again, we are talking about the miseducation of the Bahamian youth, or the miseducation of the American youth, or the Jamaican youth, who are not able to express themselves, to communicate effectively. How do you fix that?
Going back to the same point we mentioned a little bit earlier, I think it's very important that we capture the idea that these kids if they're not trained, watch this. I said this to my son. I said, those who don't like reading work for those who do, right? And I have it up in his room. And I said, I want you to read because I want you to think. I want you to have the ability to be able to think. And I said, for a long time, I remember when the boy called me Big Ed for the first time, I got suspended because that was a fight. Second time, fella called me Big Ed, that's a fight. Third time, it was a fight again. Now watch this. The reality of it is my head is nicely sized. Yeah. But see, nobody told me to say, hey, listen, what happens if someone call you big head? Accept who you are. That don't make you or break you. Now listen, but he say this to me. But I ain't let no one say, where does that come from? Why do you believe what he says to you or what she is saying to you is taking away from you or adding to you? It doesn't matter what she say or he say. It matters what you say. And what you know is you're important. You're special. You have a future ahead of you. And that comes through proper understanding of self, that proper understanding of good reasoning skills, and understanding that, listen, to every cause there's an effect, every action, reaction. If I hit this boy in his head with a rock, it can ruin my life forever because he could fall down dead. But I don't want them to think I soft. Soft. I was in a primary school not so long speaking. I was walking down the hall right here on the island, and one of the little boys said to another boy, boy, you like money. What in the world are you talking about? Where did that term come from? Where? You don't even know how to watch your jockey yet. You talking about you like man? So that's a jargon they picked up off the street. Don't even have no full understanding. But I don't want nobody say nothing to me. Someone is going to say something to you. But we have to help our young people to capture. Someone is going to say something to you. And watch this. I tell my son, everything that is said to you, you won't like. How are you going to deal with that? And you're not going to be in charge in every environment because no one is in charge in every environment. Everyone has to submit somewhere.
Let's take a break here. This is the platform. We take this break. We'll come back. You had the camera over there, you know.
No, we was